How are things different with the new head coach, Mike Macdonald there, Tyler?
Uh, I think things are a little bit different just when you look at the structure of, the philosophy of how each of how Pete and how Mike kind of go when it comes to coaching. I mean, the thing that I loved about Pete is Pete gave so much freedom, and I love that aspect of his approach because when you give somebody freedom, they can't hide who they are. Sometimes you see who people really are when they have a number of freedom that they could be able to utilize to where you could say, okay, I see what this person needs to work on, etc. With Mike, I like the fact that he's bringing structure because it's like, hey, this is who we are, this is how we're going to be, and you got to be able to tap into that, and you got to be able to buy in. And if you're not going to buy in, then you're pretty much not going to be here. And so I love that type of structure because it almost like magnifies that college structure again.
So, give me an example of the freedom that Pete gave you that might not ordinarily now be there anymore in
Well,
Seattle.
I mean, when I say freedom, I mean like, I come from Kansas State, where Bill Snyder kind of had like a military style. And now all of a sudden I go to Seattle and it's more of like, hey, like I want you to be who you are. If you don't talk, you don't have to talk. I just want you to be able to be at your best. If you're going to joke around all day, you can joke around all day. We're not going to hold you to a standard of where we think every single guy should be. We want you to show us who you are on the field, off the field, and we want to give you enough space and enough grace to be able to be that player. So if you talk trash, go talk trash. We're not going to stop you. That's kind of what I mean by that type of freedom. And what it did was it made people who comes in on our team, they think, oh, because we got this much freedom, it's gonna be like this, but then they not on the team. Why? Because you gotta have that self-motivation and you gotta be able to like push yourself and you gotta do all these different types of things. And if you're not strong as an individual and have that mentality that I got that grit within myself, I don't need anybody to help me, then it's gonna be tough for you to be here.
So, and again, I know asking this might come across as you saying one thing's freedom and that's not there anymore might come across as potentially being critical of the new administration in the same way that when I'm asking you, give me an example of structure that's there that wasn't there before, it might be critical of the previous one. I'm not doing this to be critical at all. I'm just trying to hit on the head here. What Seahawk fans are probably wondering is how things are going to be different or how things are different and how it might wind up during the season. So you understand where I'm coming from when I'm asking these questions. If can you give me an example of structure on that
Uh
front of what's happening now?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not in camp and we're not, in the season yet. So obviously it's hard to see what's going to stay the same and what's going to change.
Right.
But, when I go back to structure, it goes back to like, that military basis, like that military style. Like Mike talks to us and tells us stories about the military and stuff like that. And he, I've talked to him and he's even like talked to me about certain movies. So when you kind of understand and look at kind of like how the military functions and how they go, that's kind of how our team is. So, I mean, when we're talking about structure, it's like, hey, man, like rather be early than be on time. Like if you on time, then you late. When you go out there, it's no breaks. It's no, all right, we on field goal. Everybody that's not on field goal is chilling until the next series. It's like, no, every single person is gonna do something, however much time that we're out here, whether it's 2 hours, 2.5, it doesn't matter. Like everybody's gonna be doing something for that amount of time. We're never gonna miss a minute or 30 seconds. So that's why I said it's always somebody's always doing something. So we're not missing out on anything. So it's a really cool structure that he has going. I mean, obviously it's hard to differentiate between the two because we've only had OTAs and this is our second day of minicamp.
And then one last for you on the new regime here, and then we can move on a little bit. Tyler Lockett on the Rich Eisen Show from this chair. I was scratching my head over the news that in your facility, a lot of photographs of the old times, since you're the old head, as we've established on this program, were taken down. And I was wondering, like, what was the purpose of something like that? And I got a lot of pushback from the Pacific Northwest saying I was overreacting to that. What's your sense of all that, Tyler?
Well, I mean, it's not a lot of the stuff that got taken out. So I mean, you would kind of have to be in the building to see what exactly got taken out and what didn't get taken out. But I mean, we still have a lot of the pictures that have really like telling stories just throughout the history of the Seahawks when, Sherm made the big play. They still got other pictures where it shows everybody that's man of the year. You still got other stuff when you look at people that are in the Ring of Honor. So there's still pictures in there outside of the other things I said that are having like really great telling stories that shows you like Super Bowl moments when they beat the Denver Broncos. I think a lot of people was just talking about more of like, the little paintings that they had that was on the wall, like the little art that was on the wall that we ended up creating. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's what happens when you have a new coach. Like, there's gonna be some things that are gonna be different than everybody else, and you just kind of gotta accept that. So you can't. It's like if you're dating a girl and you move on to another girl, you can't expect that girl to do everything that your ex did. So there's gonna be things that are different, and you just gotta be able to like renew your mind and just kind of like learn how to adapt to what's new.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.